Hi, this is Dr. Andy with another remembrance of one of my students. This time we're going to remember my student Raheel, who impressed me by taking initiative in 4 different ways that I'm going to explain to you today. So Raheel was enrolled in a writing in science class that I taught, I think around 1998. We'll confirm the date in just a moment as part of this narrative because I do have some textual evidence this time. But Raheel decided, first of all, he was a student in NPB, Neurology, Physiology, and Behavior, thought by many to be the most difficult major at UC Davis. NPB. Oh. It's only the best of the best who can do well in NPB, as Raheel did. Well, when he was in my science writing class, he came to me in office hours and he said, Dr. Andy, you know what we don't have at UC Davis? An undergraduate medical and health journal. I was thinking to myself, privately, I think most universities don't have undergraduate-run health and medical journals. Nevertheless, I said to myself, where is Raheel going with this? And to Raheel I said, Raheel, I think you're right. Are you going to address that lack, that absence at UC Davis? And I'm not sure what he said to that, but his answer was definitely yes. Raheel founded a journal at UC Davis called The Voice. The Voice got funding through the Voice Club. I don't know, I wasn't involved in that part. But the funding basically paid for the printing of The Voice. And then he said, and this is the problem when you show interest in your students' activities, as I always do. Then Raheel said, Dr. Andy, we need a faculty advisor for our club and for The Voice. Will you do it? And of course I said, Raheel, of course I will. You've taken the initiative to found The Voice. The least I could do is, be the faculty advisor, and then it turns out, run all of the editorial board meetings and read over all of the submissions and go over with the individual editors their final drafts of those submissions to show them how those final drafts are not yet ready for publication, etc., etc. It only took me 2 seconds to say yes in office hours, but it turns out that I was making a 15-year commitment thanks to Raheel's request. All right, so that was one kind of initiative. Another kind of initiative is available right here on LinkedIn. He reached out to me in January of 2019 and added me as a connection on LinkedIn. I told him, thanks for connecting with me, Raheel. We passed each other in the hallway at your work several years ago, but I was attending to a family member. I hope you are doing well. He knew exactly what that meant and why I didn't stop to talk to him at the time, even though we smiled and waved. So that was on the January 4th, 2019. And he said, thanks for the reach out. Good to see you're doing well. I heard you on Insight on Capitol Public Radio sometime last year. Hope to keep in touch. By the way, I was curious if the medical journal that we started way back in 1998, that's the year that he was my student, 1998, The Voice, was still in existence at UC Davis. And that's where I had to give Raheel both the good and bad news. Here's what I wrote back. That was at 4:10 on January 7th in the afternoon. Here was my response in 2019, and here is my response at 4:18. The Voice lasted for about 15 years, longer than most literary magazines. I enjoyed many editorial meetings over the years. Beth Ruyak of Insight on Capitol Public Radio emailed me about 2 hours ago asking if I could appear on the show tomorrow. but I have conflicts, regrettably. I expect to have more chances in the future. That was in January of 2019. He got right back to me in August of 2020. This is fascinating, Dr. Andy. You reading us your correspondence. He said, "Hey, Andy. Yes, I've heard you many times on Cap Radio. You always have great insights." Smiley face. See, it was a pun because the show is titled Insight. Thanks for letting me know about The Voice. Great to know that it lasted 15 years. Nice that I was able to be part of something that became a fixture at UC Davis, at least for a while. Well, although we might reflect on the actual definition and usage of that word fixture, I would agree that 15 years is a long time for an undergraduate medical journal to thrive at a large Research One university, because the students, they switch out every couple of years. It largely depends upon the faculty advisor, that was me, to suggest continuity, to indicate what was done before and what might be done this time. But you know, students who want to get into medical school, such students, they want publications, they want achievements, they want to impress review committees at medical schools. Well, not only did Raheel become a doctor and a psychiatrist, but right now he's a chief medical officer. I'm so impressed with that guy. Did I go over the 4 ways that he took initiative? A, he asked me to be the faculty advisor on The Voice. I said yes. B, he reached out to me on LinkedIn. He connected with me. C, he communicated with me about being on the radio. And D, number 4, I don't remember the 4th one. Let's say this. I was recruited to help raise money for The Voice by putting away hundreds of tables at a UC Davis Rec Hall event, during which time I injured my finger. And I don't know if you can see right here on my ring finger on my right hand. Can you see that scar right there? I injured my finger to such an extent that it required surgery. Raheel, thank you for taking initiative 4 times. Thank you for connecting me with all the hardworking NPB majors and majors of many other schools and colleges who contributed to The Voice for 15 years. And thank you for your shout out with regard to my appearances on Capital Public Radio. Beth Ruyak has retired from that position. I'm retiring next July of 2027. Capital Public Radio hasn't reached out to me for a while. I'm an expert in so many things, they were convinced. I should remind them of that. Anyway, Raheel, Chief Medical Officer, former student of mine, you get a chapter in this unusual memoir. Dr. Andy remembering 365 of his favorite and most memorable students here on my new YouTube channel, Diary of a Quizmaster. Thanks for tuning in. The algorithm thinks you'll be interested in one of these videos over here, so check that out. My name is Dr. Andy, and I'll see you next time in our next video. Like and subscribe. Bye-bye.